Hello, class. I just wanted to clarify a little bit about the assignment since the demonstration didn't work on the screen properly. We'll try to have that addressed for Tuesday, but it doesn't actually play much of a role in the actual lecture, so it shouldn't be too much of an issue. Anyhow, when you download or interact with the PowerPoint presentation from CourseLink, you're going to have a similar display as to what you're seeing right now recording on my screen. So it's just, I'm in the PowerPoint presentation. You can see all the slides down this side. Use my fancy pointer. All the slides down this side, the actual what the presentation was, and then down here is where you're going to find the TA notes for that lecture slide. Now, don't be surprised if we talk about a slide for a couple minutes and there's only a single point down here. What I'm trying to do is to really try to highlight where that information is coming from on that slide. So a lot of times there's going to be a lot more information than you're exposed to than you're actually required to know. So when you go to these slides and you see all these really complex diagrams, if you just go down into this area here, you're going to see the takeaway message that you need to understand. So you're going to find there's quite a big difference between what I'm talking about in class, so you're engaged in the topic and actually getting the information that you need, and it's not being oversimplified. But at the same time, I don't expect you to know all this information. You'd be a high-level graduate student if you actually were able to memorize all of this information. So don't think that everything that's on the slides is something you have to know. There's just going to be a few salient points from a slide, and that's it. So it's going to be a lot more engaging in class than that's going to be expected on the midterms and finals. So I just wanted to say that before I start talking about the assignments. So a lot of people have been asking, where do I get the articles? Is there a list? No. So how it's going to work is when we're in class, you're going to see these little art assignment Twitter bars by an article. And that means that article is linked to another file that you can then read. So I'm going to give you an example. So I'm going to go into the slideshow view. So if you don't know how to do that, you just go down here, whoops, right here, and we go into the live slideshow view. Now this is what I use to project in class. Let me just pull out itself in a second. I'm just going to go use slideshow view. So this is what you're going to see. Now, if you play forward, you can actually see the class, how it was taught, so you can see the actual animations. But what I want to show you specifically is how to get the articles. So now you're in slideshow view and you can see the journal article screenshot. You're just going to hover over with your mouse and you're going to click on that. Now, when that does that, that's going to open a Google Scholar page typically. There's a few other ones, but typically it's Google Scholar because that's the easiest one to link through if you're on the UAGuelph campus or connected through. So I'm not connected in right now, but so I might not be able to actually pull up the article. I'm at home. But if you just click on the article title, it's going to take you to the actual article. Now, if you're on campus, you're just going to be able to click PDF, and it's going to open up, and then you can interact with that article. Here, I think it's going to ask me to sign in, unless I've already signed in and I've forgotten, and I have. So it thinks I'm on campus right now. So it's downloading the article. Slow. There we go. And that's it. Now you have access to the full article. You can look at the different figures, and you can decide an element that you want to talk about in this article to actually, to tweet about in the assignments. Now, when I talk about the tweets, one of the things I want you to understand that I don't expect is that you have a full understanding of these articles. What I want to start to do is introduce you into the scientific community, into the research that's being done, and so you can start to actually engage with the language that we use and the kind of the flow of these articles, because you'll eventually need to know how to interact with them. What I'm looking for is for you to just interact with the article a bit, take a salient point from that article and something that's a take-home message. So you don't have to understand the full article, like writing an essay or something. You just need to be able to take something away from that article and share it. And I'm hoping what this does is it creates a whole bunch of separate nodes where we don't have time, obviously, to talk about all the extremely important aspects of food science. But if you find something interesting and you can get the class to engage in that, you're teaching. So this is actually flipping the classroom in, I'm getting pop-up emails. So this is a method of flipping the classroom where you actually can become the teacher in a way. And what this is also going to let me do is to pick up where students are taking the class, like where they're taking the conversation in the class. So I can try to respond with how I structure the lectures, because I've created about 1,000 slides for this course so far, and I probably have another 500 or so to create. And there's a magnitude of different ways we can incorporate them. So I could have done this very linearly and said, we're going to talk about nutrition, we're going to talk about the human body, then we're going to talk about foods, and then we're going to talk about carbohydrates and lipids and vitamins. But the problem with doing that is you don't see the interconnectivity of the food chain. So if I'm talking about carbohydrates, I may also want to talk about agronomy and how to grow corn properly, and what's the difference between sweet corn and corn for silage and corn for grain. And all of that matters irrespective of if you're a food scientist or an animal nutritionist or a human nutritionist. We need to understand where food comes from. So we're going to take a lot of different tangents in this really torturous path through this curriculum. So what I'm hoping that you do is you populate nodes around that path that teaches us other aspects of that course. Screenshot view. The other way you can get to the article links is if you click on the article in just the regular view and you go links, you can just take that address, Command C, and just go into whatever, Safari, Explorer, whatever you use, Control V, enter, and it also takes you straight to that article. And again, I should be signed in still, as long as I've got my sign in, and there it is. So all right, is this recording? Yep. What's gonna, oh, I can see the reflection in that screen, so I can see. All right, I think I don't look, I feel too close. Oh, I feel creepy. All right. So I just wanted to talk quickly about two more things. So I'm at home right now. It's Friday night. It's about 8 o'clock, and I am in my office, and you can see my autograph collection behind me. These are my Toronto Maple Leaf captain's jerseys, all signed. They're my Holy Grail collection, all the way back to George Armstrong, Ted Kennedy. Oh, I love the Leafs. Anyhow, I just really wanted to finish up summarizing the assignment, which I think we've done, but I want to really quickly, just before we go, talk about two other aspects of this course. Something you need to understand is I'm just covering this as a sabbatical, and I want I feel like I don't know what to do with my hands. If you don't know what this is from, Ricky Bobby. And if you don't know what Ricky Bobby is, Talladega Nights. And if you don't know what that is, I feel very old. Anyhow, all right, I'm rambling. So, for the students that are taking this course, this is a sabbatical leave, and I'm not really looking for this to be your hardest course. So don't panic yet. Stay with the course for next week. If you're nervous, don't be nervous. I think we're going to have a lot of fun. So one of the things I'm going to do next week that I'm not typically going to do is at the end of every lecture next week, I'll give you an idea of what I would ask on a midterm or a final. This will give you an idea of the level of information that's kind of required to be remembered from the lecture notes, because I know I talk about a lot of things. I've addressed it a little bit in the previous section. I'm going to try to address it again next week. The other aspect I want to talk about of this course too, that I'm really hoping that you guys are really excited about, is there's two huge twists for lectures that I'm going to do that are going to be just a ton of fun, really interactive. I think hey buddy, this is my dog. I don't know if you can see him. His name's Jasper, but we call him Old Bones because he's getting up there. But I forget what I was saying. He distracted me. I love that dog. Trying to remember. I'm going to have to edit this out. What was it? I just wanted to finish up this little video with a little bit of a preview of what's to come for the course, because I didn't get into all this that I wanted to in the lecture. I kind of forgot about it. But if you look kind of down the side of the PowerPoint presentation, we're going to talk about a lot of different aspects of food science. We're going to talk about the food safety. We're going to talk about how to preserve foods. Then we're going to talk a little bit about things like water chemistry, how that plays a role in food safety, but also in food structure. Then kind of move through carbohydrates, lipids, proteins, and we're going to kind of go back and forth through the structure of foods and the nutrition, because I'm someone that believes that the two are very closely related. You can't talk about the glycemic index, for example, without talking about the structure that starch is in, or that food form that would then influence how our digestive enzymes interact. So that's really how this course is kind of structured, to kind of go back and forth as often as we can between food science and nutrition. And I want to kind of give you an example. So if you look down the side, we've got a couple different topics that you would expect, and then 2 kind of at the end that are surprises that I'm going to kind of throw out of left field, things I've always wanted to try in a course and just never had the time to do it. So I've kind of forced time to do it. So they should be really interactive, and hopefully they're a lot of fun. But I'm not going to talk any more about those until probably the middle of the course. But if we go into the carbohydrate section, oops, and we move down, I think slide 230 something. 232. There we go, 234. So one of the aspects, and I want to kind of show you again how this course is going to work when you're at home. So if you're at home, here's your screen view. You're just working away, reading the slides. And, because I'm doing the quick time, I can't do it. But anyhow, I'll show you after again. Technology doesn't always work. But anyhow, we're going to talk about the structure of starches, the difference between amylose and amylopectin. We're going to talk about what we do to starches, how we modify them to make them more functional as food ingredients. But then how does that change how the body interacts with the starch? How is it digested? How does the gut microflora respond? We're going to talk about how the amylose and that amylopectin is structured into starch granules. And then we're going to talk about why that's important, specifically gelatinization. So you can think of things like soups. We're going to talk about things like extrusions. But what's really cool is a lot of interactive stuff in the slide. So if we go here, we're looking at a couple different photographs of starch. But if we move ahead, you'll actually notice there are different videos, and you can actually go to YouTube and watch them live. But if you've got this at home, you'll have to click through these. But you'll have to go through the YouTube links, which are always provided. But you'll be able to go and see that content and actually watch it outside of class. But if you move forward, we'll talk then not only about structures in, I'm trying to pass so you can't see everything, but we'll talk about different aspects of polysaccharides, and then we'll move into the digestive components. We're going to talk about the structure of the small intestine and what happens at that surface for diffusion of nutrients and how they get there. And then we'll talk about the different influences that has on metabolism and homeostasis, and we're going to move through a lot of really interesting topics. But I don't want to give too much away, so I'm going to stop the presentation now. So end show. So that's a little bit of a look into what's coming for the course. So I hope that you're really, really excited to kind of go through this course with me. Again, we'll take it next week slowly, and we'll kind of see where this course goes. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So I really hope you all have a great weekend, and I'm excited to get together again on Tuesday and talk about a lot of the initial mechanisms in hunger and the interest in why we want to consume food. So we'll see you all Tuesday at 1 o'clock. Have a good one.
Okay, Dad, I'm doing a downplay. Oh yeah. Dad, I'm gonna do put down sit. Go, 1, go. Come on, just sit down.